Welcome back to another video. Now before I get into this one, I need to apologize because there's been a slight delay with this one, and that's because I've had some issues with my internet the past few days. So I was having trouble recording gameplay in online fights, and I don't want to record offline fights because I think that's just boring for you guys as the viewers. So sorry about that, but we're back in business now, and today I'm going to be going through some advanced striking tips with you. I'm going to start off by showing you guys a couple of features that a lot of people don't know are in the game that can really help out your stand-up game. Then I'm going to share with you some tips about landing different kicks on your opponents before finally sharing the most important bit of information in this video, which is about getting into your opponent's striking rhythm. Now you might be expecting me to talk about head movement in this video, but I've made a specific video last week just for head movement, so check that out if you haven't already. To start off with, if you hold R2 and R1 while moving the left stick away from your opponent, your fighter is going to retreat with their arm sticking out. This is really useful when your opponent's crowding you and you need some space, because if you move backwards normally they can still catch you with strikes as you're moving away, but with your arm posted out they won't be able to hit you because it creates some distance between the two of you. Bear in mind though, this depletes your stamina quite quickly, so use it sparingly. If you spam it too much, you're going to notice your stamina going down a lot quicker throughout the fight. Another useful feature is when you're really close to your opponent, you can hold R2 and then press square and X together to shove your opponent away from you, again creating some distance. This move is more useful when you're on the attack, so if you want a little bit of space before throwing a combination, you can use this move to push them away. Now these are two really simple things to learn that can help you out in fights, but I don't see many people online using them, so I thought I'd share them with you today. Another skill you need to learn if you want to get good at striking in UFC 4 is how to actually keep the fight standing. It's not enough just to know how to block takedowns, because this game's a lot less forgiving with takedown denials than UFC 3 was. Your timing really needs to be perfect, so you need to always be prepared for a takedown. A habit you need to form is alternating between blocking high and low when there's some distance between you and your opponent. You're going to be holding R2 most of the time to block your head anyway, so just hold L2 as well regularly just in case your opponent does go for a shot. You can see on screen that my fighter keeps putting her hands down every now and then whenever I'm at range, and that's just to prepare myself in case the takedown does come in. Now even if my opponent was thinking about the takedown here, they're probably going to think twice because they can see that I'm prepared for it at all times. Next I'm going to talk to you about kicks. Now to throw a kick you need to be in kicking range, that is non-negotiable. What you're seeing on screen now is kicking range. Any kicks you throw from here are going to do maximum damage and they're not going to leave you completely open to a counter. If you throw them from any further out, you're going to miss the kick completely, it's going to drain your stamina and your opponent can counter you for massive damage. And if you throw them while you're in punching range, the kick's going to do barely any damage and your head's going to be completely open for your opponent. So here you can see I've got the bot throwing a roundhouse kick to the body while he's in punching range, and it's so easy for me to knock him down because there's a massive window where he's completely vulnerable. Another quick tip about kicks: if your fighter has the lead body switch kick, try and use that instead of the regular roundhouse kick to the body. It's much faster and it does a little bit more damage. You can throw this by holding L2 and then holding circle, but if you're in southpaw, hold L2 and then hold X. Lastly, just like any strike in UFC 4, you need to switch your kicks up to keep your opponent guessing. I like to start the fight by throwing a lot of leg kicks, and that will condition my opponent into blocking low. Then when I get into the second and third rounds, I'll start working head kicks into my combinations, because by that time they're used to blocking low whenever they see me go for a kick. My last and most important tip for you guys today is getting into your opponent's striking rhythm. This sounds like some sort of weird abstract concept, but it's honestly the best way I can describe it. And to explain what this means, let me give you a common scenario that I'm certain you've experienced in UFC 4. There's times where you and your opponent are basically taking turns to hit each other's guard. So you throw a combination while they're blocking, then you take a step back and they throw a combination into your guard. This really doesn't benefit anyone because no one's making actual progress. Neither of you are doing real damage to each other because you've got your hands up. Getting into their striking rhythm means hitting them just as they're about to start their combination so that their hands are down. My favorite way to do this is by throwing a few quick 2-strike combinations in quick succession, and I'll show you a couple of examples on screen. In this first clip, I throw a jab hook at my opponent, then pause for a split second and then quickly fire off a jab uppercut. That split second pause was enough to make my opponent think that I had stopped throwing and that it was their turn to start throwing strikes. And then just as she starts trying to throw, I throw that jab uppercut, the second combo, and I'm able to knock her down just as the round ends. Here's another example. I'm playing as Masvidal and I throw a jab hook followed by a jab uppercut and then another jab hook. with a slight gap in between each of these 2-strike combinations. This time it was less successful. I didn't knock my opponent down because he backed off, but you can see what I'm trying to do. The split second pause between each of the combinations makes my opponent think that I'm done throwing and that it's their turn to throw, and then I catch them again as they lower their hands when they're about to strike. Now the reason I stick to 2-strike combinations with this strategy is because they consume less stamina, so I can comfortably fire off like 3 of them in quick succession without completely gassing myself out. If I was throwing 3 or 4-strike combinations, that would deplete my stamina too much and leave me vulnerable. That's it for this video. If you found this helpful at all, please like and comment. It really helps the channel out a lot. I try and keep these tutorials and guides as short as possible because I understand if you're searching for a video like this, then you literally just want to learn a couple of different strategies and get back to the game as soon as possible. I've got a ton of new content coming out on the channel, so more guides and tutorials like this, and also longer form content. So I'm planning a series where I break down different fighters and basically give you a guide on how you should be using those fighters online. So if that's something that interests you, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching.
Some of the pictures from this one, and she had it all going on tonight, but certainly her boxing was on point.
Her boxing always is what allows her to dictate the pace of fights. Finally, she landed the strike.